The Auckland Dockline Tram is still in operation as of July 2024, but it's been living on borrowed time for a fair while, sad to say. In any case, I revisited Wynyard Quarter on Sunday, July 21, primarily to see the little X1 tram number 466 leave the depot in the morning. This video will also feature SW6 tram number 881 and some unusual depot shunts later in the afternoon. The way I usually get to Wynyard Quarter is by catching the CityLink bus from the northern end of Queen Street, and this service is run by the CRRC ES12 Max buses, as far as I know. But the trouble with these things is that they have awful rock-hard seats, and I have mixed thoughts on battery electric buses in general. Frankly, I think trolley buses would be better. The quarter itself is a big residential and commercial development not far from the Auckland CBD. All the land between Victoria Park and the Waitemata Harbour was reclaimed from the sea, and in 2024 you can still see traces of this area's industrial history. For reference, the tram line first opened in 2011, but it's been interrupted by annoyingly frequent roadworks over the years. As of 2024, it's operated by Motat in partnership with Panuku Development Auckland, whoever they are. In any case, the tram now runs on Sundays only, from 10 AM to 4 PM. Adult tickets cost $2 and child tickets cost $1, but Super Gold Card holders and Motat mates get a free ride, without referencing the Edgar Winter group. The ticket lets you ride on the tram for as long as you like throughout the operating hours, and you can also hop on and hop off at any of the 4 tram stops along the 1.5 kilometre-long loop. This is effectively Auckland's little equivalent of the Christchurch tramway, only the Wynyard Quarter line is a lot shorter, and sadly, never had a fair chance to achieve its full potential. From the moment I saw this street sign, I was reminded of the Pakenham line over in Melbourne. That was one of only 2 suburban lines I covered in full while I was there, the other one being the Williamstown line. On this particular Sunday morning, the weather had a habit of changing rather frequently. Sometimes it would be raining, while other times it stopped, and then you got sunlight poking through the clouds. This was 466 returning to the main Daldy Street stop after completing that day's first run around the loop. After paying the $2 fare, I climbed aboard for her second trip, which only took 6 minutes to complete. As always, the motorman, that's the traditional term for tram driver, provided a live commentary with information on the tram herself and the area she was running through.
Well, good morning to those of you who've just joined us, and welcome aboard Panuku Development Auckland's Dockline Tram. Now proudly operated by the team from Motat, Museum of Transport and Technology down in Western Springs. Just a bit of housekeeping. As I mentioned, the tickets you've purchased for today are valid until 4 o'clock, so do keep a hold of those. You're welcome to hop on and off at any one of our 4 stops, and just keep a hold of your ticket in case there's a different driver when the tram next comes around. Now for a bit of quick history for you, the tram you're currently riding in is number 466. It was originally built in Melbourne, Australia in 1926, making it 98 years old this year. The tram doesn't look its age though, thanks to the efforts of the Bendigo tramways. In the early 2000s, they put a lot of time and hard work into restoring the tram to the beautiful condition you see it today, after it had spent around 40 years in service and another 40 years in retirement being used as a garden shed. This sounds strange, but was actually quite a common reuse for old trams, both in Australia and New Zealand. Once you take all of the running gear off the bottom and all of the seats and controls from the inside, you're left with a pretty weatherproof box that's perfect for outdoor uses. So we're making our way down one of the many streets here in the Wynyard Quarter, named after a notable historical figure. And this street is named after Sir Admiral housed up to 130 of the 256 trams in the Auckland fleet. And as you can imagine, back in the heyday of the tram system, it would have been a very busy area in the afternoons and in the mornings as all of the trams headed in and out. Something a little bit special and unusual happening today. We've got a tour group coming in a bit later, and they'll be taking the loop on 881, which is our other tram here at Dockline. It's also a Melbourne tram, but it's a little bit younger, being built in the 1940s, and it's also a lot larger than this tram. It's what's called a double bogie tram, so instead of having one set of 4 wheels underneath like this one, it has a set of 4 wheels at each end. We're going to take our next loop a little bit quicker just so we can make sure we're behind 881 when it comes out at 10:30, and then you'll get a good view of it as well as we continue around the loop. So as I mentioned, 881 is our other tram. Both of the trams are stored just up ahead of the tram shed off to the left. You can see an image on the end of that tram shed from the late 50s in Auckland. Shows the workmen disassembling the decommissioned trams after the end of Auckland's tramway in 1956. You can also see on the side passing us now some reproductions of 1950s tram tickets used in Auckland. And back in those days, one section or one stage on the tram used to only cost a penny. Going all the way from Auckland Central down to Wynyard only cost 6 minutes. It was quite an interesting ride all the way down there. At the time those rails existed, it meant that Auckland had the only coast-to-coast tramway in the world. And you could go all the way from the east coast, just outside Britomart, right down to the west coast at Onehunga.
Around 10:30, the bigger SW6 was brought out to provide a special service for a large tour group, while the little X1 continued on with her normal service. I continued on to the Jellicoe Street stop to get some more footage of 881. A tram that will eventually run down at Motap, another Melbourne tram, was still painted in its original green colour, but at this point basically all the green has been taken off and it's just the skeleton of a tram sitting there being restored. It was at this point that I decided to head over to Motat's main tram line in Western Springs, which is where 466 and 881 will move to once the Wynyard Quarter line closes. Before heading back towards the city, I stuck around to watch the little X1 head off again. Although 466 and 881 can only go in one direction round the loop, they still have control stands at both ends. But the number 2 end, as I'll call it, is only used in depot shunts, as we'll see later. It was just after 4 o'clock when I got back to Wynyard Quarter, and I found 466 parked outside the shed. She was waiting to swap places in the shed with 881. The shed only has 2 tracks, and at the time of uploading, one of them was occupied by SW6 number 852, which is still undergoing restoration. Quite bizarrely, this Enviro 500 appeared on Route 75 after I got to the tram shed. Every other time I saw a bus running on Route 75, it was a single-decker. And yes, I am aware of the poor shutter speed, but there wasn't much I could do about it at the time. 881 soon left the shed, and shunted forward to clear the points for 466. There was just enough space for the big tram to stop without blocking the street, although she did block the footpath. This was quite a surreal sight, at least by my standards, since I had never seen any kind of shunting at this tram shed before. To add to the pleasant surprises, I was allowed to ride aboard 881 as she went back into the shed. A fitting way to end my coverage of the Auckland Dockline Tram in July 2024.